Hi, welcome to the second rendition of GUILDit. My name is Jessica Boreski. I'll be one of the facilitators today. I'm seeing some new faces, but was there anybody from last week who came? Oh, okay, fantastic. These events are the first and third Thursday of every month. So our next one will be June 18th, same time here at the Kaufman. And our presenters today, who are Mary Jo Draper and Mike Meyer, they're going to present for 6 minutes. Our first presenter will present 6 minutes, and then we'll have some time to ask questions, have a little bit of discussion, and then we'll move into the next presenter. From there, that'll be an opportunity to kind of talk to other people in the room, the presenters, any questions, comments, or thoughts. I'll go ahead and introduce our other facilitators today. So Andy, Christian, and Luis. And I'll kind of let them introduce themselves briefly.
Hi, my name's Andy Meyer. I am an actress, a teaching artist, and arts activist.
Hello, my name is Christian Henkel. I'm a composer, producer, and performer here in Kansas City, Missouri.
Hello, I'm Luis, and I run Spine Studio. I'm an artist, actor, and advocate as well.
Thank you, guys. And Andy will go ahead and introduce our first presenter today. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Okay, so first up we have Mike Meyer, same last name as me. And Mike runs Band of Angels, which sounds like an amazing organization. I can't wait to hear about it. They restore instruments and they've restored over 1,000 instruments and distribute them to youth in need to help them learn about art. So I'm going to pass it over to Mike.
Great, thank you. I've got this on, so I think I'm good. Can everybody hear this okay? Good. So my story is this. I've been in the family music business with my mom and dad and my brother and my sister. We just started our 50th year in business on March 4th, so it's a big banner year for us. And about 5 years ago, I was approached by Fox 4 Television. Carrie Hibbler, who's the community relations person for Fox 4, and I are friends, and she called and said, you know, we know that the arts and things in Kansas City are always under pressure, and we want to see if we can maybe start a community program that would help and address some of those needs. And we would wonder if you would come down and talk to us through some ideas about what we might do, because they really didn't know what kind of a program they wanted to start. They just knew they wanted to help and do something. So I said, sure. And truth be told, I thought that I was going down to get pitched on buying advertising on Fox 4, but what ended up happening and came out of that meeting was a really, really great, what's blossomed into a full functioning charity, which now has its 501c3. And so I probably will just kind of go through the process real quick and then talk to you about, or just take questions on kind of what it's like to try and start something like this, what it's like to try and facilitate it and keep it going, and how do we raise money and do all of that fun stuff. So this is my family. This is my sister Mitzi on my right, I guess you're right, my brother Tom, my dad Ted, my mom Betty, and me. That's me at my first piano recital when I was about 6. My journey on my art career started there. Okay, next. And I did this presentation at 1 Million Cups about a year and a half ago, and their big thing is about collision density. When you put a bunch of people in a room, what happens when you put those people in there and good things come out of it. And my kind of thought is, what happens when two really good relationships collide? And that happened with me with Fox 4. As I said, they called me up and just said, we want to start this program and come down and talk to us through some ideas. So here's what we came up with. We collect used music instruments from people. They have the mouthpiece to get this word out across 150 miles that their station broadcasts. And my family, having been in the music business for 49 years and rented and sold instruments, we knew that there's that call on every school district in a 100-mile radius around Kansas City. And they develop personal relationships with the music directors at those schools, so they're able to identify kids in those schools that are in need that want to start to learn music, but maybe for whatever reason they can't do it. So they get on the air. They're a great mouthpiece. People bring in the instrument. Our people connect it with the student in need, which then creates more kids in the programs. Obviously, as we all talk about, arts are under fire, and they're always one of the first things that people think about when we're going to cut the budget. Where can we cut? That's one of the last places they should actually cut. There's a new study out called Stringing a Chord that was put out by the NAM Foundation. You should look that up and read it. Number 3 on the list of 15 things parents, 1,000 teachers and 800 parents were asked, when you're going to cut things in a school, tell me what's the last thing you cut. Number 1 was the number of teachers. This is what teachers said. Number 1 was the number of teachers. Number 2 was the salaries of teachers. And number 3 was music and arts education. Number 5 was athletics and other things down the list. On the parent side, now what are they going to say? Because everybody loves the stuff that they love, right? Number 1 on the list was teacher salaries. Number 2 on the list was number of teachers. And number 3 on the list for the parents was music and arts education. So it's one of the last things that anybody wants and should be cut, because there's a number of studies that show that if you send more educated kids back to school studying music, you're going to have higher test scores, you have higher math, higher everything. So we play on that. If we do that right, we create a whole nother generation of future music lovers, and then we repeat the cycle, because at some point maybe they aren't using the instrument, they bring it back in, and we do this whole process again. So it's a sustaining program that can keep itself going. About 2 years in, we started a program, another program where we offered scholarships to summer music camp for these kids. It was a way for us to take them and really surround them with other kids in schools that music was their thing. Also a way to take them out of the chaos that was their life, because most of the kids that we're helping live in very distressed families, very emotionally tough situations. It's just a rough road for them, and this is a week away where they can decompress and enjoy life, get away from the chaos. So the other benefit was that we work a lot with KU, MU, UCM, William Jewell, UMKC. They all have music camps that were going. And the schools were not really recognizing the value of these camps, and they started to raise the cost of sending the kids. They were charging more for facilities. And so now there's pressure on the camp to even keep going. And with kids having so many more options today, it was tough for them to keep the enrollment in the camp. So we thought, well, if we can send these kids to camp, not only are we helping the kids, but then we're also helping the camp stay viable and keep going. UCM in Warrensburg, I went to camp there when I was in junior high and high school. They just canceled their camp last year after 60 years. Think of all the kids that have gone through that program. So this, by us feeding more people into these camps, we're helping to keep the camps going, help keep teachers employed, send more kids back to school with music. Next. So what we do, Fox 4 is a fantastic mouthpiece. As I said, they get on the air, they spread the word, people bring in the instruments, and then we go through, we start sorting them, we start fixing them, and start the process of getting them ready for kids. About 80% of what we get when we get it does not work. So we have to spend, the first year we started the program, we thought if we collected 50 instruments, we would be doing really, really good. We ended up collecting 275 instruments the first year. So it took us almost a whole year to fix these and get them ready to even put in the hands of the kids. So that's what we spend our year doing. The rest of the year, we now, with the scholarship program and other things, we've started doing fundraisers like most charity organizations do. But I wanted to kind of do ours maybe a little differently, keep them a little smaller and more intimate. So we did a concert at the Roastery Coffee Factory with a Yamaha piano artist. That thing has really grown into a great thing. And then tomorrow, actually at In-Store Design Display, it's at 18th and Broadway, we are doing another thing. About, as I said, 80% of what we get doesn't work when we get it. And probably we get close to 35% of it is either so old or it would cost more to fix it than it really is worth. So we started taking that and going, what can we do with it? We gave the instruments to a bunch of artists and said, do what you want with these. Let's do a silent auction and make art out of these instruments. So it's called Art That Blows. And it's going to be tomorrow night. There are a few tickets left. It's on Eventbrite if you want to go there. And we brought in 3 pieces of the art back on this table so you can see what the artist did. One of them, the angel, I did. Another one from Victorian Trading Company did the purple box. And then an artist at Hallmark did the black violin. So, and then I have another partner actually in the room who I discovered through 1 Million Cups, which is Hang Ups in KC. And this is Carolyn and Christy. They take old items, they repurpose them and make them into jewelry. So about a dozen of the items that we're going to do are their art that they've created making jewelry out of pieces and parts of instruments. And I went to them and I said, I've got the coolest, they go, we're always looking for cool stuff to make stuff out of. And I said, I got the coolest stuff to make stuff out of anybody I know. So, and I think that has turned out to be one of their #1 selling things that they do. So we reached an agreement where they give a percentage back to Band of Angels. Okay, next. These are kids that we sent to camp on scholarship. In the top picture on the right, standing next to me is Jada. You'll hear her in just a minute. The first year we did music camp, we sent 2 kids to camp. The second year we sent 10. Last year was 18. This year it's 31 kids. So, and they go to camp for a full week on scholarship. So that program is really growing. And when we started Band of Angels in the beginning, I knew that it was going to take several years because all these kids pretty much started in 5th grade. So now they're transitioning through the progress. But what we want to do is we want to take them, get them 2 years in the classroom, then on the 3rd year give them the opportunity to go to camp and really just surround and shepherd that student all the way on up to high school and all the way into college. That's the goal. Hopefully we're going to create some college-bound students that wouldn't have been otherwise. This is how you get in contact with us. What we need, we did just get our 501c3 in the last year, so we're always looking for people who are good with grants. Probably the biggest thing that I kind of hoped out of today's situation would be artists. Maybe artists that would want to help and donate some time, take used instruments. We supplied all of the artists. We basically took everything that they couldn't use, laid it out on the floor, and gave them an opportunity to come just pick what they wanted. So that's that. And I'll save this till after questions. So leave me a couple of minutes at the end, and I'll talk about Raina. It's a neat story.
If anyone has any questions, let us know and we'll bring a microphone to you. Oh.
What is the age of, minimum age of the kids that go to camp, and where is the camp held?
Usually it's 8th graders. Last year all the kids went to University of Kansas to the camp because they host a series of week-long camps. This year it's kind of exciting. We have kids going to 5 different camps. We have 5 kids going to University of Missouri, Northwest Missouri State, KU, Fort Hays State, and Ottawa Suzuki Camp. There's really not an age minimum, but that's the age that when they really start working best in schools. One of the kids that's going to Ottawa Suzuki Camp is very young. They got an instrument from us. And it was really kind of a neat story because this student really wanted to learn and could not go to camp. And so their parent, they couldn't pay to go to the Ottawa Suzuki Camp. So the parent just drove them down there and just sat and watched the whole week. And the kid couldn't participate, but they just every day went to the camp and watched all the other kids participating, which is kind of a part of the Suzuki way anyway, but you know, it's going to be so awesome that that kid gets to spend the whole week working in the camp this year. Yeah.
What does the process look like when you find students to give instruments to and work with them starting from 5th grade? But what is the actual process of working with them, you said, and kind of surrounding them and shepherding them up into high school where they are able to go to camp? As somebody who works with an arts program at a school where the kids sorely need arts education but do not have music education, what if I were to bring you in, what would that look like? What would we expect to experience?
Well, our goal is to be the person that provides the equipment to be able to work in the school. Kind of by shepherding along, what I want to do is provide the kids the opportunities to go other places and study. So one of the things that we hope to develop over the next year or 2 is a private lesson program. Whenever you're going to do anything charity, you have to be super careful, I think, because you really run the risk of people starting with great intentions and then it becoming abused and now there's waste. And that's something that I really didn't want when we started this. Our program's really different in the sense that we don't take, and I'm not saying this is bad, I'm just saying this is different. This is a different approach. We don't take a big group of instruments to a place and just drop them and say, here, now it's your problem, you deal with it. Our goal is to find that one child that, here's the typical process of recruiting kids. music directors go into the classroom. They get the kids all excited. They show them the instruments. They sometimes give them an opportunity to play one. Then the child goes home and says, I want to be in band or I want to be in orchestra. And the mom and dad, in the cases of the people we deal with, fear comes over their face because they're like, I don't have an instrument. I can't afford to go do anything like that. So now you have a parent who's embarrassed because they can't help the kid that they want to help. You have a child who's crushed. You have a teacher at the school who's disappointed because she didn't have as many people in the classroom. So we want to take, you have an instrument, you bring it in, you give it to me. My goal is to find you and connect you and you together with that piece of equipment. And then give the scholarship opportunities after they've shown that they really want to do it and they're in the classes and they're working, then give them the opportunity to go and get better. I think it's important that there has to be desire on the child's part. So that's a big part of what we do. But I hope that answers your question. I mean, just giving them the opportunities. Raina, well, I'll tell Raina's story right now. Raina's a great example of a kid who really wanted it. She is from Olathe. She wanted to be in beginning orchestra. In Olathe schools, they'll let you have a school instrument for the first year. And then after the first year, you have to turn that in, you have to get a different one, and you have to go obtain your own instrument. And she couldn't do that. So she went back to the school, and she told the teacher, I'm not going to be able to be in orchestra next year because I can't get an instrument. And that teacher identified and recognized this kid is special. She really did a great job this year. She wants this. So that teacher then went to the administration, and they got an instrument for her to use. They gave it to her with two stipulations. One, you have to come back every year that you're playing it and play for the beginning students so they can see your progress. And two, if you graduate high school with honors, we will give you an option. You can either keep the viola or you can return the viola and we'll give it to somebody else to use. She did all of it. She came back every year. She played for the students, and each year she brought a couple of friends with her till the point where she came back as a senior. She brought the whole orchestra with her, and they performed for the kids. At the end of the concert, she tearfully said, I would rather give it back. Now that's a kid who has shown the desire, put in the work, and now is showing the most selfless act and give it back. So the school teachers identified that and said, so they called me, not knowing that I did anything with Band of Angels. They called me to buy a viola. And so I said, well, tell me about the student. They told me about the student. That's where we took the funds that we had raised from Band of Angels. We actually bought her a viola, and we went and we presented it to her at the school. She came for the presentation thinking she was there to hand it to the next student who was going to get it. And when she walked in, this is her teacher. This is the guy who identified her as a special student that really had desire. And so they all went out of their way to find these kids. And that's what I find with most of the teachers I work with in the schools. There's some that just want a program. They just want to, okay, almost done? Okay. There's some that want a program where they just want to put more kids in their classroom. And then there's some that really want to try and identify those kids that are super talented and keep moving them along, or just have a great desire, not even super talented, just have a great desire. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect those two pieces and give them, once we find those, move on. So
you had a
questions?
slide. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you had a slide, I think it was one right before this,
Mhm.
that said what we need.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I think we went through it too quickly. I think this would be interesting to talk about.
Well, being a guy who's been in public business and not really in the not-for-profit world, the idea of looking at a grant application was pretty scary to me. And they're asking me lots of questions. Do I have to fill out every line? Do I not have to fill out every line? What does it mean? Is my charity audited? Is it not audited? So the grant application advice was a very big piece of it. And after I presented at 1 Million Cups, there were several people that approached me, and we learned about grants and talked about that. But I can always learn more. And also, where are those grants? Where are the grants that fit what we're looking for? Because every grant typically has a specific intention, you know, and if you match that intention, you're a great fit for the grant. If you don't, you can fill out grant applications all day long and you're just wasting pencil lead, you know. So trying to identify those grants that fit with this mission, that would be something that we would need. You know, connections. If you know a parent of a student who's struggling and they need an instrument, that's, you know, connect them with us. Instruments, if you have an instrument sitting in the closet, get it out, bring it in. If we can't make it playable and give it to a student, we're going to make art out of it and raise money to give to someone else, you know. So there's always a use for the equipment. And then the last thing is just contributing artists who want to help, who believe what we're doing is good and want to help, you know.
Other questions?
Thank you. How, where the kids in need, can you talk about the sort of the geography of where the ones are that you've already helped, and what parts of the metro area you're sort of interested in expanding into?
They exist everywhere. This is not an inner city program. This is not a KCK program, you know, KC Missouri Schools program where you hear about all the time. There is a student in every school. We've given them to kids in Blue Valley. We've given them to kids in Garnett, Kansas, Pittsburgh, when they had the tornado in Joplin, Missouri. We helped provide instruments for them. So I'm not as concerned with the geography or where the kids are as I am that the kid has the desire to play and wants to go after it.
So then what does that process look like? I mean, if I'm in Joplin, Missouri, how do I find out about Band of Angels, and how do I connect with you to say, you know, I have a student who fits your criteria of what you're looking for?
Well, you would have already done half the job for me because you identified the student that is in need and has desire, and you probably know that they are financially distressed and can't do it. So you would go to the Band of Angels website, bandofangelskc.org. There's an application on there. Fill out the application. We set up the application so that the person, the recipient, filled it out, and then also the recipient filled it out, and then also the band and orchestra director filled in their portion so that we know that the band teacher knows that this person's getting an instrument or coming to the classroom. Answer a few questions that help us determine financial need, and then we ask you to write a little story on the back about why you need an instrument. And I wish everybody could read these stories because that would answer even more the question about geography. You know, there's a family that comes to mind in North Kansas City, not an unaffluent family, but a woman with 5 kids who goes to the doctor one day and finds out she has a brain tumor. Dad's now 1 income, 5 kids, everything just changed in their life. So it's those situations mixed with, you know, just low income situations mixed with people got a bad draw on who their parents are. I hate to say it like that, but that's really it. You know, you don't get to pick your parents.
Yeah. Mike, on that note, I know you're growing rapidly, and some of the things you probably are looking for is ways to cut down on time. Like, for instance, your application is PDF, and wouldn't it help to also have a form? And then also, when you take in these instruments and you have to rehab them, do you have volunteers come in, like people from band instructors and lesson teachers come in and help you with that?
Yes, kind of. Deanne, sitting right here in the front row, is actually one of our board members. volunteers their time to come in and just go through cases and clean them out and vacuum them, and we identify what's good and what's bad. That's the beauty of having our private business behind this whole thing, because we already have the network of repair people to fix all these things. Some of them do it non-charge, some of them we're paying. And up to this point, we've been just shouldering, my family has been shouldering the burden of paying for all of them. When you grow rapidly, it does create more problems and challenges as you go along. To address the first part of your question about reducing time and the form, we have opted to not go with a computer, just fill in the blank, submit form thing. And here's why. We did right away, thought let's make this streamlined, make it easy. First 3 applications we got in, not 1 ounce of the information on the application was accurate. It was fictional and fake, and it would have been so easy for somebody to come in and just get the instrument. Also, you don't have the music director tied into that process. You have mom and dad sitting at home just filling it out. Now keep in mind, some of the people, now not everybody's bad, but keep in mind the parents that we're talking about in some of these situations. I know that horn would go right out my front door and potentially right to the pawn shop. So
it's a screening method.
It is a screening method.
Right.
And to be honest with you, a lot of the people we have, they don't have a computer. They don't have a printer. They can't, 1 week the internet works at their house, the next week they got it shut off. So keeping track of the kids has been a real challenge for us. In the case of Jada that I'm going to show you here in just a second, they moved 8 times in 3 years. So how do you keep track of those? We have zeroed in on the 2 things that do stay static is pretty much the cell phone number, if it's active and still, if they've paid the bill, and the email address, which doesn't cost anything. Everything else is continually changing. So that's how we have stayed in touch with them. But that's probably been one of our biggest challenges, is just keeping track of the kids to be able to give them the opportunities.
So you had mentioned talking about Jada and the video that you like to show everybody. So kind of as a segue into the video, we do have the what we need. Is there anything else that we as a community, as a forum of artists and arts appreciators, can do to help you and Jada?
I think just spreading the word, like I said, about art that blows. That is going to be a great opportunity for artists to get out and showcase their work. Now, the tough part of this too is I know that every artist is asked to do everything for free. I get it, I really do. So I wouldn't want people to contribute if there wasn't something that they would benefit out of the situation. But if they are looking to get their art in front of people and seen, there will be 250 people at this deal tomorrow night. In the case of Christy and Carolyn, we worked out a deal that worked for both of us. And I think that when you do things, you have to do a win-win. So they donate back 30% of everything that they sell back to Band of Angels, and I supply them the equipment that they need to make the jewelry for free. So, it's a win-win. If it's not a win-win, it's not going to sustain. So I would say more artists that believe in the cause and think it's a good thing. And so we'll finish up. So I also am a big believer in what happens when 2 great relationships collide, like we talked about with Fox 4 and myself. This is Jada. Jada, at the time of this video, was 15. This was our first gala event we were doing. We did it at my house. And Jada came and she played 2 songs. I ran across Jada because my son John, who's in the Royals jersey up here, was at camp at UCM, and Jada was at camp too. So I went down to see him play trumpet in the jazz band. And this girl walks up that I knew we had sent to camp on scholarship. She was one of our first people, and starts playing the piano and was obviously gifted, obviously. And so I called her mom up and I said, I'd love for you to come and play before our main performer, Tony DeSere, who's the other guy. Tony is a nationally known performer. He performed last year at the Kaufman Center on Valentine's Day. Genuinely giving guy. He's getting ready to leave to go back to his hotel. We walked up through the kitchen. It's about 10 o'clock at night. There was maybe 10 people left at my house out of 90 that were there when we first started. And she ran up to him and was like, I just love the way you played. You so inspired me. And he said, oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. And she said, do you know the song Take the A Train? And he goes, well, yeah, I know the song Take the A Train. He goes, do you know the song Take the A Train? She goes, Yeah, I love that song, but I don't know it very good. He goes, well, come in here and let's play it together. So they walked in, never met, never rehearsed, no planning. This is totally off the cuff, and they're improvising here. And what ended up happening was incredible. I'm so happy I pulled my cell phone out, took the video. So this is about 30 seconds of a 2.5-minute video that's on YouTube of what happens when two people who really have desire and caring meet and something magical can happen. So. Cool. You'll see her somewhere here in Kansas City playing professionally. And so thank you so much for allowing me 30 minutes of your time and listening about Band of Angels. And appreciate it.
All right. Mike Meyer and Band of Angels. Thank you very much.